All right, you're very welcome along. It is Thursday morning of Holy Week. We forgot yesterday was the day that Judas kissed Jesus and the betrayal happened.
Oh, where are you going with this?
I actually don't know. You can fill in the rest of that story yourselves out there if you want.
Yeah.
Nothing bad came of that anyway, did it?
No,
in the end, you know?
Not at all.
2,000 years of people killing each other in the name of righteousness. And that's why we have sport, folks. It's war without the bullets. I wonder, did George Orwell actually mean that, or was he actually taking the piss a little bit? Was there like a deep-seated sense of irony? He was like, here, I'm going to write this thing and everybody over here is going to lose their shit over it. Like, I think so. Or, you know.
Jesus rose again on the Sunday, so allegedly, and Rory could rise again. Is that we're trying to find a sporting link here? Win his next major?
Bernard Langer, when he won, was like, so he won his second one. I fell down a Bernard Langer YouTube wormhole yesterday as he talked about his personal relationship with Jesus. And basically, he won the Masters as a 27-year-old, and he was married to a beautiful woman, and the camera pans to his wife, who's there beside him nodding. And I don't think she actually speaks in the 5 minutes that I watched, but it's like a piece to camera from 2001 where he's talking about how he met Jesus. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And so he was world number one golfer, 27, is a millionaire, and obviously he just won the Masters. And somebody invited him to Bible study, and I can't even remember. It was John 3:3. If there's anybody in the comments who's a good biblical scholar, I suspect there might not be at the start of the morning, but if there is, then you can tell us what that Bible, something about knowing Jesus. Oh, it was like you must be born again, basically, was it? You're born once and then you must be born again into it. And this was the moment where the penny dropped for him, to the point where when he wins and he's in the butler cabin afterwards putting on the green jacket, he's breaking down in tears because it's Easter Sunday.
Jeez.
I remember, so this is obviously his second victory, which a Masters historian / somebody with Google in front of them might be able to tell us the year there quickly. Okay, Google, when did Bernard Langer win his second? Sometime in the 80s, right? Later. Or, was it the 90s? There's a big gap anyway. I just remember thinking, this is mad. Like, he genuinely felt like Jesus had guided him through. It's pretty good that you could call on your own personal Jesus to win golf tournaments.
Handy as it turns out, yeah.
Not bad.
He won in 85 and 93.
So in 93, if you check back, he's totally emotional because it's Easter Sunday. And then he brought it up again. It's like, yeah, Easter Sunday. So I don't know. I think that there's like that Bible group in the Masters. They're the ones you want to put your money on this week because they all feel like they've been chosen. The Easter's got to do with the cycle of the moon, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Isn't everybody? Does everybody? Mm-hmm. Is there always a full moon in Easter? Is that what it is? I don't know.
No, I doubt it.
I stopped paying attention to all the rationale behind all this stuff a long time ago. And so, if you, again, the Bible students / lunar experts.
They can't all be chosen, though. That's the thing. So there's.
They all think they are.
Yeah,
that's
mad.
The bit. And if you're not, it's like, one of my buddies was, so it was close.
Yeah.
The Passover thing just passed over me and landed on them.
It's a lesson. It's a learning lesson if they don't win.
Mixing a few stories here together, unfortunately.
Yeah, Jesus.
Morning.
How are you, Colm? Colm's here. Shane is here. If you want to get in touch, you can leave a comment in the YouTube stream, but you've got to be signed in and you have to be subscribed to our channel, youtube.com/offtheball.
Is that the first time a Bible verse has been referenced?
First time
on the
for
show?
sure.
I don't think
First
so.
time for
No?
sure, yeah, for sure.
You never know.
Come here. Last night was just a humble Wednesday, right? I think we can all agree on that.
Humble.
Seismic news. David Moyes on the brink at West Ham for the second time. Manchester United beat Brentford when Brentford showed far too much respect to United. Frank Lampard is going to come back for the second time as well. And all that aside, last night in the sporting world, football particularly, was a tale of two hat-tricks. One from Karim Benzema in El Clasico as Real Madrid hammered Barcelona. And two was to my left here. Shane Hannon, talk us through your hat-trick last night. And also, sorry, I need to put this in the headline because it will bury lead. Stripped of the captaincy, scored a hat-trick.
Oh, punish
Shane, please.
So yeah, why always me? I should have had a t-shirt, why always me, when I scored the third. Didn't. So the stripped of the captaincy thing was a misunderstanding. So I, as I usually do before the match, threw on the number 7 jersey, threw on the armband, got ready to lead the team out, and then I hear the manager, Deezer, called out, said, Jimmy Traynor, you're the captain. So walking out, I'm pissed off. I'm like, there you go, there's the armband. And I said, I'm not going to say anything until after the match. I'm going to be a leader and not bring this up, not make an issue until after the match. Turns out after the match, the manager had forgotten that I was there and had forgotten that I was there to take the armband as I usually do. But as Michael Jordan said, I took that personally. And it led to an onslaught of goals in a 5-2 win in the Cup quarter-final.
Right, so he's going to do this again. If it worked once, Shane, it's going to work again.
Yeah. Well, I came home from Dublin yesterday and after work and visualised it. I actually came in to the house to my brother and I said I was tired after a long day at work, driving up from Dublin. And I said, I'm either going to play crap, just before I went out to the match, I'm either going to play crap today or I'm going to score a hat-trick.
The lack of thinking time available to you, did it actually benefit you ultimately?
100%. But my last hat-trick I spent the night before in the nightclub.
How many hat-tricks have you scored?
I've scored a few. Yeah.
I'm aware that there was actual sport last night that we'll get to, but I am interested. Your 3 goals. What kind of goals do you score there?
Diagonal run off the last defender, ball in behind. The first 2 were quite similar. Nice little finishes past the goalkeeper. Third one was one of my striking teammates, Paul Smith, who used to play in the League of Ireland to a decent degree. Took a shot, back out to me, took a touch and rifled it past the keeper. Look, it's a team sport, lads. But I mean, I visualised it. Like Rory McIlroy visualising getting the green jacket off Scotty Scheffler in the butler's cabin. I visualised the hat-trick last night.
Very good.
Made it happen. So,
you're a big man, good touch, number 9?
Yeah, number 9. I was kind of playing on the wide off the front 3 last night.
Right.
Which kind of works for me. You can almost teleport those little runs in behind. I watch the offside trap as well.
When I found out you played football to a good level, convinced you were a midfielder.
Really?
You've centre mid written all over you.
I've played centre mid before. I have played centre mid before.
The legs are going.
Having completed one hat-trick and seen the other, who did it better? Shane Hannon or Karim Benzema?
Benzema was playing Barcelona. I was playing
but the actual goals.
But the actual goals, mine obviously. Modesty is striker. You're not a striker if you're too modest.
If anyone out there has some sort of footage of any of these goals, I'd love to see it, because Shane has complete carte blanche to do what he wants here in the description of these goals.
Yeah,
he could be saying anything he wants. I would love to know which is better.
I should have said halfway line.
Who are we playing? Sorry, just to give them a shout out.
Killylaw, a good team as well. It was 2-2 with 6 minutes to play.
Oh, right.
So I scored the first 2 goals, 2-0 up. Then they got back to 2-1 for half time. We conceded then with 6 minutes left, 2-2. You're thinking this is going to extra time, but we managed to pull away.
Sounds like a good episode of Dream Team.
Good game.
Not great that your manager didn't spot you in the changing room beforehand.
Just didn't
unless
think about
he
it.
did, it was like, I know what I'm going to do. He needs a bit of a boot up the hole. So
well, it worked.
Right, we do have a pair of tickets to give away to the Heineken Champions Cup quarter-final at the Aviva on Good Friday, which is obviously tomorrow. Leinster against Leicester. The best live comments will win 2 tickets. Now, you've got to be able to go to the game, and you have to be able to get in touch with us afterwards for us to be able to email you the tickets. So if you want to go to Leinster-Leicester tomorrow night in the Aviva, the best live comments as picked by Shane.
Yes.
You're going to have to be nice to me in the comments this morning, because I'm picking it.
Something that basically makes Shane smile, at least. Hopefully laugh.
Yeah.
Would be great.
Laugh would be fantastic.
And also make sure you're on Twitter and have your Twitter DMs open so that we can contact you. That's crucial.
Right, so you mentioned, I'm going to just go run through some of these headlines on the back pages of the tabloids. It does look like West Ham were 2-0 down inside 15 minutes last night and ended up losing 5-1. They had a lot of chances themselves, but Newcastle absolutely destroyed them. Newcastle looking pretty good for the top 4, and maybe even they're going to finish ahead of Man United, even though Man United went and spent $250 million last summer. Who could have predicted that, Colm? Who could have predicted that? Oh, sorry, I did.
Blue was there about a month ago and it didn't look like it was happening, but please proceed with the headlines.
I didn't think it would happen after they
hasn't happened yet.
In Casemiro and Anthony and who else did they sign? Lisandro Martinez. Bluest the colour. Luis Enrique. Enrique wants the Chelsea job. I mean, you know, I wish we could quote Junior Soprano without having to beep it out. But anyway, blue is the colour. Enrique wants the Chelsea job, and it's a picture of Lamps. Lamps gets caretaker role.
Tiny picture of Lamps. Bad for the ego.
Big picture of Lamps on the back of the mirror. Frank Job sacked, but now he's back. Legend Lampard set for Blues hot seat at Easter. He is truly the Jesus Christ in this analogy.
He is risen from the dead.
How many Jesuses can we find in sports today? Lampard is back at the bridge, and then it's Rashford and Sancho. Sancho, not quite there.
No, not last night.
Sancho is more like one of the four. Who are the ones who write the Gospels?
I thought you were going to say the four wise men, and I was going to.
What are the apostles who wrote the Gospels?
There's
a
Matthew,
name
Mark,
for them
Luke,
too.
and John.
I know the names, but there's a thing that there's a collective noun for gospel writers who were also apostles.
My religious knowledge has deserted me.
We're chiselling off the plaque of 40 years of heathenism. Sorry, Lampard is back at the bridge. I can't understand this. Look, Blue's back is the back of the star, and there's also a massive picture.
He is laughing.
Well, it's,
all the way to the bank, he's laughing.
Are they going to give him some kind of role in the hierarchy? Is it like a club ambassadorial role? So he's now part of them forever, and he's coming back, and he's.
What's in this for Lamps? Because best case scenario, they win the Champions League, just like Roberto Di Matteo did 11 years ago, and maybe they finish about 6th, right? What happens then? Because he will ultimately be replaced by a permanent manager, which increasingly, could be Luis Enrique, according to reports yesterday lunchtime, which would be an exciting appointment. He's not going to get the job full time again, surely. It's only 2 years. It's only 3 managers ago he was the manager.
It'd be a Solskjaer job then, wouldn't it?
So,
here's the caretaker job.
What's
you do
Lampard's
well
goal? You say straight to the bank, right? Look, maybe Lampard is financially motivated here. Maybe it's a very, very attractive looking package he's been given here. But he strikes me as a guy who doesn't really need it, doesn't really strive it. So what does he want after this?
He doesn't need the money.
Where's he going after that? Is it West Ham? Like, West Ham fans aren't the biggest fans of Frank Lampard.
They get over that pretty quickly, I think.
Does he go there?
So
Leicester?
Just tease it out. You've given him a victory in the Champions League.
Yeah. This is best case scenario, of course.
Okay, but
what happens then?
Well, what happens then is a Champions League winning manager, and it's on his CV, and he can do whatever he wants.
Well, Roberto Di Matteo got the Chelsea job permanently.
Yeah, but Roberto Di Matteo was a lesser standing in world football than Frank Lampard, who has much bigger name recognition by virtue of the fact that he played for England 80 odd times. Like, Roberto Di Matteo never really made it beyond that brief stint, and was clearly a caretaker manager, and was like, they couldn't wait to get him out the door. With Lampard, he's obviously a club legend. So they're not going to win the Champions League. I don't think they're going to win the Champions League.
It's Real Madrid next.
I think they're going to get knocked out at that stage. And I don't think Frank Lampard's a particularly good manager at the moment. But from his perspective, all of a sudden he's relevant again in world football, and this gets him into the conversation for the England job. Say he was to take a job in the back room at Chelsea in some kind of academy role. He's positioned to get the under-21 gig, which Lee Carsley is apparently going to give up, or is talking about giving up, and there's a possibility he might give up after the Euros. And then he gets that job and he's an actual successor. If he can just re-establish that he's able to manage at this level in a short period of time, it's a massive shot in the arm for a career that looked like it had completely run its course as a manager.
I don't think the ego will allow him to go behind the scenes. I'd be sceptical if he took a step down.
But you go behind the scenes the way Southgate did, and you learn your trade at the under-21s.
John Terry's doing that at the moment.
You see, the thing with the difference between Lampard and Southgate is Southgate was a fine defender, like really well respected for Aston Villa and Crystal Palace and Middlesbrough, did a great job, but no Frank Lampard in terms of his impact on global football. So you're taking this guy who's so used to the status that he has ever since Harry Redknapp defended him in that press conference at West Ham in the 90s, and skyrocketed in terms of status and fame.
And how did his managerial career go?
But like, what's his echo chamber like? Like, who's he surrounded by? People probably telling him he was hard done by. When he was Chelsea manager, he probably argued that he assembled the squad that won the Champions League in 2021 under Thomas Tuchel. He probably feels that he had a tough gig. At Everton, he himself said he was battling all sorts of stuff on and off the field. He probably feels like, look back what I did with Derby, got to the playoff final, I did well there. So is he going to go from once again Chelsea manager to going to the coaching staff at Chelsea?
No, I'm not talking about the coaching staff. I'm talking about like a head of academy or head of underage.
It's just not public facing enough.
Well, but with the aim of getting the same role within the England setup, and maybe it just goes to, maybe there is no need because that the times coalesce perfectly. So you take Chelsea over, stabilise the ship, stop. Maybe get them scoring some goals, and then all of a sudden in the summertime the England under-21 job is available, and I think this is a massive shot in the arm with almost no risk.
I think it's great for Lampard, and not sure if it makes too much sense for Chelsea. Like, he knows the club sort of this totally different regime. Like, as Thomas Tuchel said, he doesn't recognise the club that he left with new owners. And Bruno Salter did well, unless he really doesn't want the job. Lampard, I don't know how much of a positive difference he's going to make at this stage. He's probably still very scorned over the Everton situation. He only left in January. Look, I'm looking at Di Matteo here, his managerial record. Like, he managed 2 clubs before Chelsea, way down the ranks. Like MK Dons first, West Brom for 2 years.
Experience.
Then he got the Chelsea gig. But as soon as he won the Champions League, he got the gig permanently, and he was gone then in autumn. And who did he manage after that? Schalke and Aston Villa. That's what I'm saying. So he went from Chelsea, Champions League, to Schalke, to Aston Villa, when Villa weren't in a very great state at all. And I'm just trying to envision this time next year, who is Frank Lampard managing? I don't know it's a very odd career path. I've never seen this happen before, where a manager is so quickly reappointed after being sacked. The exception probably being David Moyes.
Yeah.
When he left West Ham and came back again.
If you look at Chelsea's remaining fixtures, this is where it gets difficult for Lampard. They still have to play Manchester United, Brentford, Arsenal, Man City, Newcastle. Their last 2 games in the league are Man City away and Chelsea and Newcastle at home. So like, it could go badly for Lampard, but it can't be any worse than it was under Potter recently. So surely there'll be that new manager bounce, and he'll be the saviour and all the rest. I don't know. I think it's a good move for Lampard. As you say, he wants to be back in the. If you're not talking about him, he's not going to get other jobs. So he's back in the headlines. He's not.
Yeah, what's the downside? I mean, the downside is that obviously it is a complete shambles, and there is interference in team selection. But he obviously is there for such a short period of time that he can probably tell them all to butt out. I do think it has the possibility of restoring him to conversations about any of the vacant positions that are out there, which doesn't exist at the moment. Nobody's thinking Frank Lampard would be great for any of the available club jobs. I haven't seen anybody link Lampard with Leicester, for example.
No.
That's what I say. Well, Crystal Palace is another option in the summer when Roy Hodgson's own interim stint will finish, unless he decides to stay on or they offer it to him. But he was in contention for the Palace job before he took Everton, and he could go there. Run the Blaze.
Is he a good manager, though?
Mobile.
I don't think he...
I don't think there's been enough sample size to show. He's had short stints all 3 times.
I think the sample size is ample. I think the bit where Thomas Tuchel comes in and immediately fixes all the problems they had. The defence was shocking when Lampard was there. He was blaming individual errors as opposed to having a system in place to stop the team conceding goals. Tuchel walks in, draws the first couple of games 0-0, and all of a sudden everybody knows what their job is.
I think that's an unfair comparison between Tuchel and Lampard.
Well, it literally isn't an unfair comparison, because they were both the Chelsea managers with exactly the same squad. You're going to say, oh, Tuchel's far more experienced, but the ball game is to be the best manager available. And if you're any team who is trying to sign a manager, you're looking around, you're going, who is the next Tuchel? How do I find somebody who's going to rise to that level, as opposed to Lampard, who just blamed everybody instead of actually taking responsibility himself.
I'm not the biggest Frank Lampard fan as a manager. Like, I'm unconvinced, but I'm also not totally convinced that he's a terrible manager yet. I haven't seen it. Like, he did, I'll give him one thing. He did well at Derby. He did well, and that's a while ago, but it is forgotten. And he kept everything up last year when they looked doomed this time last year. We were talking about them as going down, and he kept them up. Now, people out there or anywhere will say, well, he got them into the position too, or he certainly continued the decline when he took over at Everton. But he did ultimately keep them up. And at Chelsea, he did all right for a while. He did okay.
See, what Lampard's going to do is point out that things didn't get worse. So they're currently 11th on 39 points. But Palace behind them are 9 points off. So they're not going to finish any lower than they currently are.
Yeah.
So he's going to say, well, I kept them 11th, or I took them up a place. It's not going to get any worse.
It's handy for him. It's definitely handy. I'm just wondering, where does he go from here
England.
in the summer?
England.
I'm not so
Why
sure
not?
about that.
Why not?
Why would
big job, like?
Are you saying? Are you saying
21s?
Yeah. I don't think it's big enough for him.
But it's the England job. You get the England job after doing that. You're the number one contender. You're anointed as the natural successor. You go to whatever the tournaments are. You hang around like a bad smell. You know, whatever. Like the English FA have definitely looked to a point from within. They've realised the folly of their ways, appointing whatever the most famous celebrity / voguish choice was, and it looks like they're a relatively well-run organisation at the moment. Maybe that's just a complete facade because Southgate is such a good handler of all of those scenarios and those situations. Like, I don't know. What's wrong with that?
Well, Southgate's going to go probably after next Euros. He's been there quite a while. So say if he does go, and he had the option of Frank Lampard after a year with the 21s, or an available Graham Potter, for example.
Eddie Howe.
Or Eddie Howe. You're taking the latter two there, aren't you? Like, what's Lampard going to do with 21s that's going to impress the hierarchy in England so much, other than availability at the right time?
Well, that's first off, and secondly is that we've sent you on a lot of training courses, and we've analysed your preparation, and you've evolved as a manager, and you've got to understand the cut and thrust of, or the ebb and flow rather, as opposed to cut and thrust of only seeing the squad whenever you see them. And also you're one of our former legends. There's pictures of you all around this place.
Yeah, that's the one. I think that's the one thing going for England, is that he'll be able to gather the players and say, look, I was great and I think you're great, and that might help the part-time-ish nature of international football versus club football.
I don't think there's
Possibly.
any whatever about the small sample size. There's no body of evidence that Graham Potter is the right man for that job at all.
No. This thing about the club legends sneaking into jobs without that much experience, like I was watching John Terry on with Stephen Hendry on his YouTube channel there recently, and Terry was saying, like, even at Villa, and Craig Shakespeare is such a better coach. He was like, Craig Shakespeare was such a better coach than me. That he was like, I just want to be a manager now, I don't want to be a coach. These lads just skip into jobs. Like Lampard shouldn't have been at Chelsea when he was the first stint. They seem to skip the pecking order, which is fair enough because of their stature, but it's a bit unfair.
It is unfair, but I wouldn't blame Lampard for that. It's not his fault.
No,
he was a brilliant player and he did extraordinary things in his career, and it's not his fault that club owners make strange decisions. So I think fair play to him for taking the opportunity. And I'd say the temptation to turn down the Chelsea job was probably in his mind, because he probably did feel this is too early for me. He still took it. Like, it's still a brave decision to make. Like, I understand. Like, I understand why Lampard is not rated as a manager. I get it. Like, you look at the three clubs straight away, and you say, look, he could have done more at each of them. I think I'm looking at the positive side. I think he did okay at least at all three at some point. So I don't think he's a complete disaster or write-off. Okay,
well then in which case he's absolutely the right candidate for the England job, and it would be a good spectacle. I think we could all get behind Frank Lampard. I could certainly get behind that as a...
I would absolutely enjoy it. Also, sorry, David Moyes keeps on referring to last season and how well they did. They did extraordinarily well last season. He gets criticised for this, but West Ham finished 7th in the Premier League, and I completely forgot about this. They got to the semi-final of the Europa League.
Yeah.
He keeps on referencing last year, and people aren't happy with it. He's set to be the next to go. He could be the 14th Premier League manager.
Should he be sacked? I don't know. It
tends to be 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning, just after we've come off air. So we're waiting with bated breath to find out the exact news. And sorry, JP Wright, voice actor, says, can we get some appreciation for Newcastle instead of constantly hearing about Monaghan? Best defence in the league, and the whole back five cost less than Van Dijk. Eddie Howe has worked wonders. Eddie Howe, excellent manager.
We do tend to focus on the negative. So like West Ham last night obviously being the story, but then you forget the Newcastle 5-1 win away from home, which is fair enough.
A routine, taking care of business. It's a pressure game. All that travel, obviously.
See Callum Wilson's Macarena?
So difficult for them. He did it twice.
Oh, it was fantastic. Shithousery. He does the podcast with Mikel Antonio, the footballers podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And he told him on the podcast that he was going to do that if he scored. And he followed through in his word. And my word, did he piss off the West Ham fans behind the goal.
Tribute to Lee Sharp. Great to see.
Class.
Newcastle. It's the first time Newcastle have won 4 in a row for 11 years. They're flying it. Also, sorry, we've had to mention Denise O'Sullivan's going to win her 100th cap this Saturday against the USA. What a player. One of Cork's finest. Much more contender.
Talked about it on yesterday's show. She's got there faster than Robbie Keane did, and obviously, as we said, Robbie was a teenage prodigy. It's a sensational performance, and Kathleen was pointing out that when she talks to people in America, they're like, this is a superstar. She's like absolutely world class, and probably because she plays in America instead of England, doesn't quite get the same level of kudos from the Ireland fans as Katie McCabe does. But if we're going to do anything in the World Cup, it'll be on the back of brilliant performances from Denise O'Sullivan and Katie McCabe. So, yeah.
But that's definitely something, the Aviva, that I've noticed. You see the Centurions kind of going around on the screen around the stadium, which is a really good idea by the FAI or Ireland Football or whatever they're called now. But yeah, certainly Denise O'Sullivan being added to that list, well deserved.